and welcome to another live edition of It's Just Me. Of course, I'm Brent Fox. Um, Today is actually going to be another short show. Um, like I always say, real life things happen to real life people. So that's what's going on. So I'm just going to touch on a few topics and then I'll politely bow out. So, first thing that I'll go ahead and speak on is last Saturday's boxing cards, plural. Of course, there was the Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios card, and then the Clarissa Shields versus Franchon Cruz Dezern card on Sunday. Now, I'll touch a little bit about my Pittsburgh Steelers as well, and hey, what's happening, Coach? Man, thank you so much for hopping on, man. I appreciate that. And then we'll go ahead and I'll talk about maybe some draft needs of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll call it a show after that. I ain't gonna be on here for too long. Um, so first things first, Saturday's fight card. Um, Now this particular fight card was actually pretty well loaded. Um, Realistically, it's probably maybe like a B plus, just underneath an A type card. If you're familiar with boxing at all, there were some familiar names on there, such as Gary Antoine Russell, Frank Martin, Nasir Albright or Nassim Albright. I'm sorry, and excuse me. You also had guys on there that were up and coming. I think Cormel Moten was like on the undercard, but I know for a fact Amari Jones was actually on there. He was on the televised card. What's up, Jared? Thank you so much for showing up, bro. Um, and yeah, I think that was pretty much the main guys that I was paying attention to. Now, Amari Jones actually put on quite the performance against a veteran in Luis Cuba Arias. Now, Cuba Arias has made his rounds fighting um, in 160 and 168 pounds for the most part. He did do some work at 154 as well. So let me not shortchange him on that. But Cuba Arias is actually, or was actually, a very skilled fighter who was a great litmus test, and he's officially a gatekeeper now. I think Amari Jones has actually proven that. I mean, he from what I actually saw, I didn't get to see the whole fight. I think I missed the first two rounds, but I know from the third round up until the fight actually stopped, he was giving Cuba Arias the business. Um, and at one point, I thought that Arias wasn't going to wind up getting up, but I think to his credit, his folks actually stopped the fight. I think that's what happened, or the ref waved it off. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, congrats to Amari Jones, who's actually making his way. I think it's in the super middleweight division, which is 168 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to him on an awesome showing. Um, and then, of course, there was one of the fights of the night, which was with one Frank Martin and Nassim or Nasir Albright. And it was Nassim. I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep calling this man Nasir. It's Nassim Albright. Now, if you remember Nassim, he for boxing fans, he was the guy that actually wound up fighting Keyshawn, and I think in San Antonio, and he gave him a good fight. He defeated his brother Kelvin. I messed up and said Keon, I think in an earlier show, or I made a comment somewhere and said it was Keon, but it's Kelvin that he actually wound up beating. Keyshawn's older brother, Kelvin Davis, he wound up beating him. And then that's when the whole locker room altercation thing started. But, shouts out to him and Frank Martin for putting on a very good performance and a very good fight Saturday night. Now, of course, I think the maybe the first couple of rounds, it may have looked, those rounds were really subjective. I think, yeah, I had to represent the Bulletproof brother. I just got through watching this show on Netflix, man. Um, I really enjoyed that series. I hope that they're doing a Daredevil Reborn, so I'm hoping that they actually bring him back for that. But we'll see. Um, but yeah, man, the fight between Frank Martin and Nassim Albright was awesome. The first couple of rounds were up to interpretation. Of course, it could be strongly argued that Nassim actually won the first two rounds. I think there wasn't too much of a doubt that Frank was winning rounds, I think 3, 4, and 5. Um, six could have been debatable. Um, Seven, I think Frank definitely won that one. Eight, I think that Frank, I think for the most part, Frank won that one. Nine, Nasir was really coming on. And then, of course, that 10th round was obviously Nassim Albright's round. So, um, I'm thinking that, uh, hey, what's happening? Um, so, yeah, I think that, oh, ha ha ha. I didn't say anything funny, brother. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I kind of figured that somebody was on here. Nobody's begging for money, bro. So you can get your ass up out of here. Um, yeah, we'll holler at you. Yeah, we'll holler at you, man. I don't play those type of games here, and for that reason, you can pretty much get the fuck on. All right, I ain't got time for it today. Um, But anyway, that particular fight was very very entertaining. I do hope that they actually wind up running back. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, we just not gonna tolerate any ignorance, man. Um, but yeah, I definitely appreciated that fight as a true boxing fan. And I hope that each fighter has actually learned something from that particular fight to make the rematch that much better. Um, I honestly don't know who I would actually have in that rematch, because if each fighter actually winds up improving, there is a strong chance that Frank could get stopped, and there is also a chance that Nassim could actually be defeated. I don't think that he'll be knocked out, but I think that he could probably. Um, I wouldn't say just. I would say that he would probably get outpointed. Yeah, he would probably get outpointed. I don't think that he would really get beat up, but I think that he would probably get outpointed, because the way that Frank was actually successful was he was able to get inside of Nassim and actually just start working on the body and then go back to the head. Or sometimes he would vary it and counter Nassim, or he'll take any type of gaps in defense that Nassim had, and then start coming in from there. And more importantly, Frank used his jab to try to get inside and do work. So, and then of course, the way that Nassim was actually getting ready to get Frank out of the contest was that he was countering him, found openings, broke down his defense, and basically brought it to him. Like he brought it to Frank. As much of a Frank Martin fan as I am, I have to tell the truth and be honest about it. My guy almost got knocked out. So, I definitely appreciate that particular aspect of fighting. Yes, it was fortunate that Nassim actually had the mouthpiece incidents because he would have gotten Frank out of there, no doubt. But I really enjoyed that fight. Um, I actually enjoyed the Gary Antoine Russell fight. Now I understand that some of my brothers and sisters in the LDBC don't particularly care for this particular person, um, because of his because of his character. But I'm just looking at this objectively as a fight, and I think that Andy actually gave him a run for his money. Now, let Shakur tell it. Gary Antoine had the fight from beginning to end, and if we had it any differently, we don't know boxing, which I think is a little bit on the crazy side, because people are, just because someone's not a silver medalist in the Olympics, and they're not a 3 to 4 division champion, does not mean that we don't know what we're talking about. If we've actually studied the game and been a part of the game for as long as almost as long as you've been alive. Okay. What's happening? Oh, hey, Cozy, what's happening? Thank you for coming in. I got something for you, Cozy. Give me just a few seconds, man. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. I think I got you, man. You should be added on as a moderator. So yeah, I appreciate you coming by, man. We just had somebody that we had to, yeah, we just had somebody that we had to kick out. So, be on the lookout for these people that are negative. If they're overtly negative, then, you got a green light to kick them out. If they just have a different opinion, then nah, give them space to talk. I'm not always right. And I'm not the type of person that's going to run an echo chamber. I have to be open to different ideas and different perspectives. But if somebody's being disrespectful, then yeah, by all means, let's get them up out of here. All right. So, back to that particular fight. So with Gary Antoine, he for the most part was able to control the fight until probably like the later rounds. And I think that Andy was really starting to come on, especially with the body work. But unfortunately, there was a very low blow that Andy landed, and it cost him literally. It cost him a point, and you know, I think maybe on one. No, 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 no. Gary Antoine actually won pretty clean on all 3 scorecards, I think. But yeah, it was a closer fight than what I think the judges had it as, and obviously what Shakur had it as. Now, yes, to his credit, Gary Antoine Russell did have control most of the fight, but there were some instances in the late, especially in the later rounds, where that body attack was becoming very, very effective. So, and I do have to address an issue with one Richardson Hitchens. Okay, so there's there's definitely a problem when you are the guy that talks a lot of trash, but um, what I'm talking about, Cozy, is there was a boxing card that came on last Saturday. It was Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios, and I'm talking about the undercard from that particular fight. And I'll work my way up to the main event here in just a few moments. Um, but yeah, Richardson Hitchens, you can't talk trash to all of these people, and you can't talk trash to your opponent at the press conference and act like you're so much better than them, you're levels above them, and then you turn around and call in sick. You literally called in sick from your title fight. Now, the IBF is notorious for stripping people. So if they haven't done it by now, I would not be surprised if they stripped Richardson Hitchens of his 140-pound title and actually had Oscar Duarte, which was supposed to be his opponent, and then I think it was the number one contender who had to actually step aside for that fight for the actual belt, and then Richardson Hitchens is pretty much going to have to start from scratch. Um, I would not object to that. I think that unfortunately that is fair and just, to be quite honest. I mean, you get back what you put out. If you're talking and that talking runs hollow and your actions are the complete opposite of what you're saying, then there are repercussions to that. Now, um, shout outs to the Queens of Boxing Talk and especially Neek J. She was trying to be, she was trying to be pro for the brother. And I definitely, especially with this Luke Cage t shirt, can appreciate something like that. But at the same time, all of us ain't good, upstanding folks, just like, people from other races aren't bad, you know? Unfortunately, Richardson Hitchens is an example of somebody that cannot stand on what he says. Now, unfortunately, there had been some situations. Okay, I got you, cuz. Um, Unfortunately, there are going to be some situations to where you're not going to be 100% in a fight. Yes, there was a flu bug that was probably going around Vegas, and that may have affected one of the people in the main event, which I'll get to later. But at the same time, everybody, especially in a professional sports capacity, has something that's ailing them, and they have to push through it. Otherwise, you're not much of a professional, and more importantly, you're not that much of a champion if you cannot find a way to literally fight through that. So, Richardson Hitchens will not get any sympathy from me as far as not being able to perform. And more importantly, and I just want to make this clear, I do this across the board. Teofimo Lopez, the hatred and all the monkey jokes and all of that other crap that he was doing, and then wound up being in the locker room by himself when he lost and was in the hospital by himself when he lost. No sympathy. None. You get back what you put out. Now, had Teofimo Lopez won, I think the racism and the monkey jokes and all of that stuff, that probably would have increased. That would have increased. He would have probably said that he was a superior man, and oh yeah, well, I didn't mean anything racial by it, man. I was just saying that I was better because I beat Shakur. I wasn't trying to say anything racist, but instead he got some sense literally knocked into him and started apologizing for slavery, which I thought was hilarious. Um, but hopefully, and I'm not trying to sound callous or cruel, but I think Teofimo needed something like this to happen in order to make him a better fighter and, more importantly, make him a better person. Once he sees that, the people that were supposed to be with him were not, and that includes his father, which he needs to cut ties with. Um, if he is not, if no one is actually there in your corner when things are down, you need to remember that, and you need to make sure that you move in another direction when those people come back when things are up. Um, Now, oh my goodness. I guess that would leave the main event. So the main event is, of course, at 140 pounds, I believe, with one Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios was actually defending. Okay, Cozy. Mario Barrios was actually defending his 140-pound WBC title, which ironically the WBC was somehow able to raise ostarine levels for acceptance. I think it was point zero 0.01 or something like that, um, which is funny. They raised the level of ostarine for it to be acceptable for Ryan to actually fight. So if Ryan actually does wind up testing positive for ostarine and is under the point zero 0.01, I believe, then it is quote unquote a fair fight, even though he quite literally had a performance enhancing drug in his system. Now, if this actually sounds familiar, um, there was also a case where clenbuterol levels were actually raised for one Canelo Alvarez in his fight against Gennady Golovkin. So, hey, what's up, Will? Thank you so much for coming by, brother. Thank you. All right, but yeah, yep, Clemnello, yep. Um, So yeah, again, Mauricio Suleiman, who is the president and chairman of the WBC, has actually shown his true colors as far as whom he actually supports. So I guess "We Back Cheaters" is what the WBC stands for. So again, um, even though it is a highly coveted belt in the sport of boxing, and shout outs to, of course, Bruce Shushu Carrington, that actually won a version of the WBC belt I think it was at 135 pounds. Um, I truly, I am truly happy for him. I'm sorry, it was 126, or no, was it 130? I think it might have been 130. But shouts out to Bruce Shushu Carrington for that. He's a high character guy from what I've actually observed. So hopefully, he's able to have a nice long reign as champion in his division, despite that particular belt. So um I definitely I definitely have my suspicions of the WBC. Now, of course, with that being said, Ryan Garcia actually put on what would be referred to as a masterful performance against Mario Barrios, who, quite honestly, looked very stiff, very flat, and yeah, looked very rude. I mean, he looked very flat. Like he just was unable to do anything except put on a high guard on occasion and just walk into punches, which is crazy. He got caught by an overhand right. I got real life person, real life situation. There's my son in the background, y'all. Um, he he got caught with that overhand right, and he just was not functional after that. I don't know what was actually going on with Barrios, but I've known him to actually put up a better fight than that. All right, say hi to people, Savon. Hi. All right. All right, go on, get out of here, boy. I love you, all right? I love you. Happy birthday. Boy, ain't nobody birthday today. Um, anyway, um, it looks as though that once he actually got caught with that overhand right and got dropped, something just happened to where he just basically shelled up, and and that was a wrap after that. I'm sure that there was some sort of ailment going on with him, but needless to say, man, terrible performance by Mario Barrios. Um, Once you're in there, man, you have to have a better showing for yourself, and then most of the time when you're actually fighting through adversity, There have been instances where you actually perform better. There have been instances where I think at one point, um, I know that there were several instances where Roy Jones actually broke his hand. Deontay Wilder actually broke his hand fighting. I know he broke it against Ariella. I think he broke it against somebody else too, and wound up still fighting. I do not like mentioning this person, but he fought through adversity too against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Tank broke his hand and was able to, win his fight. I'm not going to talk about him too much, but yeah, man, yeah, yeah. That Barrios boy, that Barrios something else, man. But yeah, I mean, hey, my son Sean, he does his own thing, man. Shoot, he'll leave when he feel like it. I just be talking. Um, but yeah, man, yeah, he just Barrios just did not come with it, and then, of course, what that did was that boosted Ryan's ego among other things, and now everybody thinks that he's back. Um, for his sake, I would certainly hope that the levels that they adjusted for the Osterine were quote unquote acceptable. Because if not, you know, it's going to be painfully apparent that he's not going to be able to perform well without the use of some performance enhancing drugs, which is basically going to be his legacy. Um, but yeah, I just did not like the looks of it. And then of course, with that particular fight being made for real boxing fans, we all know what that was because you picked Barrios because it was very convenient for you to actually be able to come back and then get a title shot after an awful performance against Rolly Romero, whom they thought you were actually going to wind up beating, and that didn't turn out to be what that was. So, hey, it is what it is. Um, I'm not, yeah. Oh, yeah, he is the star of the show. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, they do, man. They do. They do. They do. Yeah. And then, you know, for Suleiman, I will give him credit for trying to be on code for his Latino brothers and sisters, man. Uh, he's a Malcolm X of boxing. He'll get it by any means necessary. If you got to change drug levels and all that other stuff, change rules, stuff like that, then yeah, he's gonna do it to make sure that his folks got an edge. So I don't know. Meanwhile, I know the a brother owns the IBF, but he hard on everybody. So you know, while I can appreciate that, and kind of be like, well, hey, you might want to look and see what these other folks doing because they not playing fair. But just moving on to another card here, the Clarissa Shields versus Franchon Cruz DeZern fight was nothing short of entertaining. Now it was entertaining down to the national anthems and the lift every voice and sing. Now, if y'all watched the 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 preliminaries where they did like the national anthem and the lift every voice and sing, the Negro national anthem is what we refer to it as. There were two versions of it. So apparently, I guess Kelly Price, who was supposed to be doing it, didn't come on time. So they brought this lady named Passion up to sing it, right? She did a really good job. Okay, I'm not gonna BS you. Uh, she did better than expected. Let me just put it that way. I ain't gonna say really good. She did a lot better than I expected. So, she actually got, she hit it, right? Kelly Price come in. She's supposed to do the national anthem. From what I could tell, okay, from what I could tell, Kelly Price sung like the back half of the national anthem. When I heard her, she was for the land of the free, getting through that in the home of the brave. Got right to the Negro national anthem. Did a whole nother rendition of the Negro national anthem upstage in this Passion Girl. Oh man, my people is something else. My people is something else. Kelly Price just refused to be upstage, boy. Hey, Tay Tay, thank you so much for coming by. Thank you. But yeah, Kelly Price would not be upstage by nobody, especially nobody named Passion, I suppose. Um, so she did her own rendition of Lift Every Voice, aka the Negro National Anthem. and she in Kelly Price fashion, she put it down. So, you know, congrats to the winner, Kelly Price, on that one. Passion, Kelly won by split decision. I'll give you that one. But Kelly definitely won. That was hilarious. I heard her sing like the back half of the national anthem and got straight to Lift Every Voice and sing. That was hilarious. Only during Black History Month, baby. Um, but yeah, the main event with Clarissa and Franchon was a good fight. At first, it kind of looked like a version of shit, like the Bad Girls Club when they was trying to fight. I mean, they was swinging all over each other and meeting in the middle of the ring. Now I know that Clarissa is actually sponsored by Zeus now, but that don't mean that she got to fight like she owns Zeus. You know what I mean? Clarissa is a much better boxer than that. But nonetheless, it was still entertaining. Um, Things did settle down probably after maybe the second round, and then Clarissa started really separating herself because she did actually win a majority of the rounds anyway, but she really started separating herself like from the third round on. Um, so much so that I thought that they were at one point probably gonna wind up stopping the fight, but to Franchon's credit, she really did hang in there. She did try to fight back. So I definitely appreciate the efforts of Franchon Cruz Dezern. Um, and I was able to, and it was pretty cool to actually see them just kind of I thought that they actually did make up in the ring. I didn't see any type of boiled over animosity toward one another after the fight or whatever. Now there was a moment where like immediately after the fight, Franchon and her may have exchanged words, but they wound up actually embracing each other once that exchange was over with, and then I think they just kind of moved on um, as far as like the animosity or whatever the case may be with that. Now I think that of course came from the weigh-in where Clarissa wound up pushing Franchon, and then the camps started fighting each other. Um, but yeah, that I just I didn't sense anything boiling over or anything else like that. But I'm glad that those two women were able to put on a good performance and make money together, because that's really what it actually boils down to, especially in this science. So, the men could actually take notes from that. I know people don't want to fight their brothers or whatever, but you guys are in the same business, and you guys do this for a living. This is you fight for your life, quite literally, and figuratively in that particular ring. So if if your brother, quote unquote, is actually in your way, then you got to remove that obstacle. If he in your way, you got to get him out the way. Um, Shoot, even the Charlo brother said that I know Maul said that he probably wouldn't fight Mel, but Mel definitely said, for the Mel definitely said for the right price he'll fight Maul, and they blood brothers. So, so yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They probably were, coach. I think that they probably were. But yeah, at the same time, it was good to see them actually just kind of defuse all of that, and then just be able to move on, which is which is very very important. Um, I was gonna talk about my Pittsburgh Steelers, y'all, but I ran way over time. What I will address is something that's probably highly controversial, but this has actually been on my heart, and you know, at one point drug me into a rabbit hole on Facebook fighting these people off. So, in entertainment news, there was a situation at the BAFTA Awards, which Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were actually presenting an award, and there was a person with Tourette's syndrome that yelled out the N word, and then and then said the B word after that. So, being the professionals that they were, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo carried on with the presentation of the award. But after that, there was a situation to where I think the MC of the event came on, was trying to explain away about the situation with Tourette's, but never really offered much of an apology to Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo. Now, these are people that we actually hold in high regard, especially Michael B. Jordan, who is a world renowned actor and very beloved by all. And I mean all. Like, people that don't even speak English love Michael B. Jordan. So for him, and then, more importantly, um, to me, an acting legend like Delroy Lindo, who don't deserve that, like, at all, man. Who don't deserve that at all. For him to be able to just kind of carry on, because that's who actually just carried on. I think Mike froze just for a little bit, and then Delroy just kind of kept on with the presentation. But yeah, he just that people, and of course, um, oh, I'm not sure. Oh, probably next Thursday, Cozy. Probably next Thursday. But if you got to jump out, Cozy, I understand, man. Have a good night. If that's the case, have a good night, and we'll holler at you probably next Thursday. Um, but yeah, there were a lot of people that were oh, okay. Yeah, I can talk to you about football. I don't know much about hockey. Yeah, I don't know much about hockey, but I can definitely talk to you about football. Um, and we could probably concentrate on that next live because the combine will be going on and stuff like that. So yeah, we can do that. Um, but just kind of getting back to it, there are a certain group of people that were actually just trying to more or less, hey, you need to be sympathetic to people with Tourette's, and this shows that you guys don't do your research and all of that, right? But I did not hear about this person actually. Now, he did degrade women. He called a woman that was presenting something, a B word. Um, he did yell out boring to someone that was actually trying to present something else. Um, I think that there was a situation to where he yelled out the C word to a woman, and that C word rhymes with aunt or aunt. So I'll let y'all figure that one out. And then I think he did something else, but he never yelled out anything anti-Semitic, which is very ironic. But he was able to somehow yell out the N word, and people are able to excuse that. For me, Tourette's, just like any other affliction that you have to have that within you for that to come out you. All right. So I'm not here to shoot anybody like that, any type of bell or anything else like that. No, you may not be able to help the ticks that actually come out. And yes, most of the time, and I did do a little research for those that want to be funny about it. Um, the the Tourette's is based off of intrusive thoughts. Let me just go ahead and say that again. The Tourette's is based off intrusive thoughts. So if you were thinking about it intrusively and it shoots out involuntarily, you still meant in the words of the great Jamie Foxx, who I wish was related to me in real life, but his real name is Eric Bishop. But shout outs to him because he's from Terrell, Texas. You know, I still appreciate you representing us, man. But yeah, um, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying, Coach. Like there has to be some sort of booth, and this person actually has Tourette syndrome, and I think that they had some sort of movie come out, and that could have, those outbursts could have been publicity for that particular movie, which I'm not gonna watch anyway. But yeah, the BAFTAs knew better than that. You don't have a guy that actually yells out offensive things to people in an award show that is supposed to be quote unquote dignified. Like, no. I think the BAFTAs did. I think the BAFTAs actually knew what they were doing. That's absolutely no excuse for that. The BAFTAs knew what they were actually doing. I'm not shooting them any bail. Neither should anybody else. And again, Tourette's, just like any other affliction, whatever is within you comes out. Now that includes things like schizophrenia and what is the other word? What was the other? Dang, I'll just use schizophrenia for right now. But yeah, even though people with schizophrenia can go to a very very dark place, and unfortunately, this hits pretty close to home because there is a family member that has it. And unfortunately, even with the outburst that they actually have, and it's very dark, it still derives from somewhere within that particular person. And I guarantee you, if there was a situation to where someone with Tourette's who actually looks like most of us was doing something like that and yelled out an anti-Semitic remark, they would not care. They would do a Mike Tomlin. We do not care that you have Tourette's. You are wrong for this. You are going to need sensitivity training. We are going to have to like mind train you to wash that out your brain. All of the above. So you can miss me with the whole, oh, it's just Tourette's, and you guys need to do your research on that. And no, no. Again, Tourette's, whatever's within comes out. It's based off of intrusive thoughts. It's again based off intrusive thoughts. All right. So, you know, y'all can miss me with that, but hey, happy Black History Month, y'all. Happy Black History Month. All right. Well, that's going to be my time, you guys. I definitely appreciate everybody for stopping by. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you guys next time.